Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm here at Foundation Cadillac just outside of Denver, and they have something really beautiful and pretty unique these days because sedans are slowly disappearing. But what we have here is a Cadillac 2023 CT4-V Sport, and the V Sport just adds another level to this design. I think Cadillac is doing some of the best looking sedans on the market right now, so I can't wait to dive in to this front end design, the chiseled side view and the rear, look at the interior, and then we're gonna take this beauty for a drive. Before we jump in and have a look at this gorgeous design, let's talk about some of the spec and tech. So you have a 2.7 liter inline 4 with 325 horsepower at 5,000 RPM and 380 pound-feet of torque at 2,000 RPM. It is connected to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy sits at around 20 city and 29 mpg highway. This one is also all-wheel drive, giving it a 0 to 60 miles per hour time in 6.1 seconds and a top speed of 155 miles per hour. And this one, as it sits right here at Foundation Cadillac, will cost you $61,479. Would you just have a look at this absolutely stunning front end of the Cadillac? It's aggressive, it's stylish, and it's classy, all mixed in one, and that is not an easy thing to do. What I like about the V Sport here is that we have all this black gloss finishes on the key graphic features. Pretty much there is no chrome in the front end except for, of course, the Cadillac logo. And in this case, since it is a Cadillac, I kind of feel that it suits to have that be in chrome, but I would want to see what this would look like if we blacked it out and have it match the rest of the front end of this CT4-V. I'm not sure what I would pick because I think Cadillac is still one of those old luxury brands that should maybe have a little splash of chrome on some features, but I guess it would also look very good in black. What I think Cadillac is doing really well is the line flow and the chisel design that we have here. One detail that kind of emphasizes this in a very good way is both in the front but also in the rear, which you're gonna have a look at in just a second. So if you look at this line right here of this gorgeous big LED daytime running light right here, it follows the exact line of the shoulder line. So the shoulder line comes in from the side all the way from the back and into this beautiful feature here. And the headlights themselves, you have auto high beam, and you also have cornering lights that adjust to the steering wheel inputs, which is very cool tech to kind of see around the corners. Continuing here with the line flow, just look at the sculpting of this gorgeous hood in this beautiful color. We have this line going into this corner here. We have this line, doesn't have a connection in the front end. So what did Cadillac do here? They faded it out right before it meets the grille, and you have this typical center line for Cadillacs that goes through the entire hood into the front end. It creates this fold right in the centerpiece of the front. It's a very beautiful design. Even though all the features of the front end feels like they are exactly where they're supposed to be, it still has a very strong identity across the entire Cadillac lineup. Zooming in on the headlights here, and I love the design of this. It's very thin. We don't have a bumper headlight like it's such a big trend today. We have the main bulb sitting right here in the far corner with this daytime run light as we talked about just a minute ago. A couple of things that I would like to change, maybe have these be functional, because this is just a black piece here, but I think it looks good because we have the same angle here as we have here, and we also have a nice chamfer for the housing, for the base of the headlight up top. In addition to these horizontal lines, it just creates a nice flow overall in the design, in addition to this chiseledness that Cadillac is known for. Coming around to the side view of the CT4-V, which is, in my opinion, the best view for this car. Let's talk about wheels and tires. You have all-season 235mm wide tires wrapping around some gloss black 19-inch wheels, and these are also run flats. Usually I'm not a huge fan of black wheels, but since we have all the gloss black in the front end, the gloss black side skirt right there, I think it kind of suits this car to have gloss black wheels as well, and in addition to the gloss black trim that we have going around here and into the side mirror as well. I want to bring your attention to two key lines that makes this such a gorgeous design, and just have a look at these proportions. This is typical sedan proportions, and previously in previous videos I've said that I think Cadillac is basically the new Germans when it comes to sedan design. Germany right now with specifically Mercedes, they're going all bubbly. But going back to the Bruno Sacco era, they had more of these boxy shapes. So I think Cadillac is almost a modernization of 90s German sedans. But two key lines here. We have this super sharp shoulder line that I talked about, going from the front end graphics right here, cutting really sharp. It's almost like I feel like I'm gonna get cut if I just touch this line. That's so sharp. Going into the taillights and then wrapping around the corner here, similar to what we have in the front end graphics. It's a beautiful touch. And then we have some double action shoulder line going on here with another shoulder in the lower part of the taillight, cutting in through the doors, and then slowly fades out in this area, and then it's just this top part that's remaining. Down at the bottom, we also have a couple of lines that's very interesting to look at because it carves out some volume of the side view of the car. This is the line I'm talking about at the lower part. Also very sharp. It doesn't have any unnecessary styling to it. I do like that it goes down in the front end, because what that does is creates a bit of a forward movement for the overall design and then fades into the rear fender. Overall, as I said, Cadillac, when it comes to design, specifically sedans, even though we don't have the CT6 in the US anymore, which is a shame, we still have the CT4 and the CT5 though, but they're doing a great job. And I wish people bought more of these, because I have a feeling that the CT4 and the CT5 will also pretty soon be put out of production, at least here in the US. And that's a shame because it's such a beautiful design. Coming around to the rear end of the Cadillac CT4-V, I love this rear end. However, there are a couple of things that I would like to change here that we're gonna redesign in just a second. But first, let's talk about what's beautiful in this design. The sharpness that we have in the front, the side, it comes back here in the rear with this gorgeous chamfer going around the trunk here. You also have a nice framing for the taillights, and the taillights themselves is very interesting because you have two lines here. You have it kind of splitting off from the shoulder line. One line going down here into this line, or you can choose another direction and turn it 90 degrees into this area here, which also has a connection to it with this line. It's just a stunning looking rear end. Now, looking at this big black wing up here, you might think that this is a black wing. It would probably fool me if I didn't know any better. But this is not the black wing. This is a CT4-V, which still has this big black wing up here, which I think sends the design off in such a cool way and is beautifully integrated in the overall design. And this is one piece. Normally, I would like to have this in body color, but since it is a Cadillac Blackwing name, it suits it to have it in gloss black like we have on every other graphic feature on this car. And down here you have the quad tailpipe setup with a pretty subtle integration of the diffuser, which also I think it suits this car. It's a Cadillac, it's supposed to be classy, it doesn't have to have massive wings and fins sticking out. And it's interesting that they decided to go with chrome finish for the tailpipes. Again, I think it suits the Cadillac to have that. We have the chrome emblem in the front end. Will be interesting to see what these will look like in black though. All right, so a couple of things in the rear that I would like to redesign. And the main thing here that I'm not a huge fan of is this cutout that we have here. You see how it cuts into the trunk itself and doesn't have a harmonious ending for this trunk. It feels like the trunk is almost hanging here from a cliff or something. I want to have some more base for it. So now what I want to do here is to try and figure out a solution for this, probably fill this area in a little bit more and have it be more of a substantial volume of surface going from this corner all the way to the other, and have a base for the trunk itself. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do that. I'm also gonna change the tail pipes from chrome to black, because I just wanna see, as we did with the front end, what it would look like if we had those in black. Welcome to the gorgeous interior of the 2023 Cadillac CT4-V. I like it in here. We have a nice gauge cluster, 12-inch, and we have an 8-inch infotainment screen. And let me ask you this, do you really need a bigger screen than this? Personally, I think this 8-inch is probably my favorite size for an infotainment screen. I don't need it to be any bigger than this. What's surprising in here, that I stepped in here, is that we have proper carbon fiber right here in a Cadillac CT4. I think that's so cool. But this is the only area, I think, where I can see any carbon fiber. So just add a little bit of splash of carbon fiber in here, which I like. Looking at the infotainment screen, it's pretty easy to use. You have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you have a Wi-Fi hotspot, keyless entry, keyless start, and it's very easy to use. The map is right here. If you want it, you can have it on the infotainment screen. And if you press this V button on the steering wheel, it pops up this V mode configuration page where you can adjust the steering, the engine, shift from snow, ice, tour, sport, or track. You can have the brake feel be on tour, sport, or track as well. Pretty cool how you can set up this car to exactly how you want it to feel. And the gauge cluster itself, absolutely beautiful graphics. We have the big tachometer in the center with a speedometer to the right of this big circle, and you can configure the right side of the screen to show you whatever you need. You have maintenance, oil life, phone, navigation, basically anything you want. And this is what I want from a gauge cluster that's digital. We have a nice housing, even a double framing for it. You have this framing up top with a soft material, then a harder framing that kind of goes all around it. Beautifully done. And the vents in here, big and sturdy, easy to use, easy to find. Down here you have all the controls for the climate control, a button for every single setting of the climate control. Easy enough, you don't have to go into the software itself to figure all this out when you're driving. Down here we have heated and cooled seat settings, and you have the wireless charging pad right underneath this piece. In this carbon fiber piece, we have the cup holders. So we have a carbon fiber frame for something as important as the cup holders. That's the only carbon fiber you get in here, but I'm happy that they put something like this in here. It's pretty cool to see. The gear shifter looks beautiful as well. Pretty simple to use. You just hold in the side button if you want to go into drive, and if you want to put it back in park, you just press the park button up top. In the center armrest, you do have some storage, not the biggest storage, but it's pretty decent. You have a USB-C and a USB port and an SD card reader in here with a 12-volt cigarette outlet. Looking at this steering wheel, I'm not sure how I feel about the steering wheel. I think Cadillac could have made it a little nicer than this because it's the same color all around. I would like to see some different textures, for example, in these features that holds all the buttons, the framing for the buttons. But other than that, it's a very nice steering wheel to hold. It's pretty fat, almost feels BMW-like, with the Cadillac logo in the center. You have the radio controls on the right spoke and the cruise control settings and buttons on the left side with the paddles in the back. Paddles feels pretty sturdy, and they have a very short click to them, which I like. For example, the Ram TRX I drove had a massive click. It didn't feel right to drive it with the paddles, but this feels a lot better. I do, however, wish, of course, that they stuck down a little further and were a little longer than this. The doors look nice as well, nicely sculpted and designed with the black leather and the orange or brown, light brown stitching to it. In this case, we have the Bose sound system, and we have the same kind of feeling on the seats. Beautiful, gorgeous seats, hug you just enough, and these are all power adjusted for the both front seats. And I love the piping that we have and the contrast stitching. It looks very nice, and it comes in all across the interior, but not on the steering wheel. I would like to have it here on the steering wheel as well to kind of have the same connection to the rest of the interior. We do have a head-up display that you can adjust with this button down to the left of the steering wheel, and you also have the controls for the lighting up here on the stock. Up top, we do have a standard sized sunroof, which I'm gonna close now because it's getting very hot in here. You have some buttons for the garage opener, and of course the two toggle switches for the sunroof. And last but not least, in here in the front, we do have a proper sized glove box. So with that said, let's jump in and have a look at this rear seat. This is CT4, so it's a smaller sibling of the CT5. It's gonna be interesting to see if I can fit behind my own driving position. Climbing into the back seat behind my own driving position. You have to keep in mind I'm 6'1" too, so I'm pretty tall, and honestly, I have basically zero space in here. I have to sit like this because when I sit in this position, my knees are hitting the front seat, and my head, I can't put my head higher up than this because it's actually hitting the ceiling right here. So not the best spot for me to sit if I want to go on a longer road trip. I'm going to end up with some neck pain. That's absolutely guaranteed. So we had a look at the gorgeous, stunning, chiseled, sharp exterior of the CT4-V. We talked about the interior. Now let's fire up this 2.7 liter inline 4 and let's hear what this sounds like, and let's put it in sport mode. guys, setting off in the 2023 Cadillac CT4-V. Absolutely stunning design. I think you got that point across. So what about the driving here? We have 325 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound too bad, but 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds sounds a bit, honestly, a bit low to me. I'm not sure if that's actually what it can do or if it can do even more than that. Specifically with all-wheel drive and it definitely goes and it sounds great. You have all-wheel drive, 10-speed automatic. Let's put it in manual and see how the shifts are here. Down to first, and let's do a quick pull here and see how it feels. If it feels like 6.1, I'm betting it's gonna feel faster. It does go pretty well. I'm not sure what it is that is holding this back. It feels very comfortable, but at the same time it has that sporty V sense to it. So it is a little bit sportier than, for example, the normal Cadillac CT4, and it also looks a whole lot better with the blacked out package and in its dark red color. It's a stunning design. The sound, not sure if the sound is actually pumped in to the cabin or if it's all from the exhaust. Either way, it sounds pretty good for what it is, an inline 4. And I love the head-up display as well. It's right there in front of you with all the necessary stuff that you need, the speed and the speed limit, and that's about it. You don't need more stuff for the head-up display. Thanks again to Foundation Cadillac for letting me have a go and review this car. If you're interested in any new Cadillac, make sure you check them out at foundationcadillac.com right outside of Denver. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.